Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next session. Now, we all know, don't we, that digital transformation has us working every minute and attempting to squeeze everything we can out of each and every day. And according to a McKinsey Global Institute study, we actually spend 61% of our time managing work and only 39% of our time actually doing it. Sounds surprising, isn't it? But one company who really has an innovative approach to working is Dropbox, and I'm delighted now to introduce the Global VP of Customer Experience and Head of EMEA from Dropbox. Please put your hands together and give a nice warm welcome to Adrian Gormley.
Hey. Good morning. So Sean stole my opening line of, did you know that we spend over 60% of our time managing work and only 40% of our time doing it? This morning, I'm going to talk to you about how we can flip that statistic by building a culture of creative thinkers. My name is Adrian Gormley. I lead customer experience at Dropbox, where we are laser focused on changing the way that we work by building a culture of creative thinkers. So I'm going to talk about our approach here. But first, let me take a step back. When you think about creative thinking, we use it to solve problems. And most companies in the world have been founded to solve everyday problems. Dropbox is no different. So our CEO and founder, Drew Houston, came up with the idea for Dropbox when he was on a bus from Boston to New York. Realizing he'd forgotten his USB key, he started to write code because he was so frustrated for a tool that could store his files remotely. Now fast forward, and what was and started as a consumer-facing storage product has come a very long way since then. Dropbox now has over 500 million users and 11 million paying customers. And we've moved from helping individuals keep their files in sync to helping businesses keep their teams in sync. Now, on that journey, we have had to really deeply understand the problems that people are facing in the workplace today. And the only way that we've been able to design our products and our customer experiences is to really understand those problems. And boy, do we all have problems in the workplace. The key one that Dropbox is focused on is what we call work about work. We write it as one word, in fact. The kind of work that saps your energy, that inhibits your creativity, and prevents you from being effective. When you think about the fact that we are running around all day, every day, squeezing every minute out of every day, there really is, there's nothing, we have no time to breathe, we have no time to do anything. There is a word in Japan that I absolutely love, although it's scary, and it's called karoshi. And karoshi means death by overwork, and 1/5 of employees in Japan are at risk. And ironically, the technology that we all use and that we think makes our life easier in this world of digital transformation actually is adding a lot to the distraction and the cognitive overload and complexity to what we do. Think of all that social media that you're checking all morning. Think of the deluge of email that's going to wait when you get back to the office or the shop. Think about all of those time management apps. Are they really helping us manage our time better? I'm not so sure. We did a study with the School of Life here in the UK last year, and we found that 64% of us are struggling and feel out of our depth in work. Simply put, we cannot continue this grind of work about work. So there's McKinsey stat of 61% of our time managing work. When I think about that in my working life, I think about all that time and energy that has been put into things like email management. Now, I'm guessing if you were to really keep a log and think of all the minutes and the hours and the days and in the course, certainly, of my career, months and years, that I have spent trying to chase inbox zero. Does that feel familiar? You get it right down, the next morning it's back up. You can never actually maintain inbox zero. That wrong goal, simply the wrong goal, all that time and energy spent on that, and energy and opportunity costs missed on putting it into creatively solving problems. And I think many of you here today may not identify as being creative in the traditional sense, but problem solving is a creative process, and we've all got business problems to solve. Creative thinking is required in every business function. It's not just the cool kids in brand or design. It's finance, it's legal, it's support, it's sales, it's everywhere. And yet we undermine it every day by a work environment that is just a little bit set up for productivity and control. What we need is a new, enlightened way of working for individuals, for teams, for businesses, an enlightened way of working that empowers people to strip away the work about work. An enlightened way of working that's about working smarter, not harder, and most certainly not longer. An enlightened way of working that is about refocusing that energy to where it really has impact, to where channeling that creativity to the actual problems that are facing us. At Dropbox, we're building this culture where terms like empowerment and creative thinking and collaboration are meaningful strategies and not just empty buzzwords. And I'm going to talk about some approaches that we're taking that you might find useful. I'll talk about physical spaces and other types of spaces, collaboration, empowerment, and making time for creativity. Now, we all know that how employees feel about their work environment is correlated with their engagement and their creativity. Highly engaged workers usually have freedom to move around, to take control of their work environments. We have more and more people working remotely. Customers expect different things when they come into your store. There's lots of trends that are changing work environments, and a lot of time and attention is going into the design and the architecture and places for people to collaborate, coffee stations and places for people to concentrate. Now, my clicker is not working, or if it was, I'd be able to show you a picture of our Dropbox offices. So I had a picture. Aha. Sorry, you missed this. So our Dropbox offices are amongst the most beautiful spaces that we have, I've ever worked in. Lots of spaces to move around, to get into different zones, but my favorite is this room. This is our music room. Now, we make software at Dropbox. We don't make music. And the point of this room is a place for people to go to switch off, to switch gears, to get into the flow, to jam. If people who are musical get together, make music. People like me who haven't a musical note in our bodies go in and bash the drums and think we're cool. But it helps me get into the flow. But moving from physical spaces, there are other spaces that are critically important to creative thinking. And one that I feel very passionately about is creating safe psychological spaces. Spaces where people can try and fail and try again, fail again, but with the organization's support, not the judgment. Places where people and individuals can give their best ideas, their wacky ideas, where they can argue and debate with impunity. Only then do you get the really great ideas and have the ones that maybe are not so good shelved and put away. And when I think about safe spaces, one of the most powerful concepts that helps safe spaces is recognizing and even celebrating failure. And it was mentioned in the last panel as well. And if, as a team, you can sit down and talk about what didn't work and why, what learnings do you have, it encourages people to take risks. It encourages teams to push boundaries. I have a global team, and a few years ago, we decided to put a set of awards in every quarter. And I really like this idea of celebrating failure. So I named one of the awards the Noble Failure Award. I'm very proud of myself. I thought, this is great. This is forward thinking. And the first quarter we did it, actually, I looked around, me and my leadership team, and not only could we not find noble failures, we couldn't find failures of any kind. And initially, my team came back and said, it's great, we didn't fail at anything. But actually, in that was the failure. We had not created an environment for people to feel like they could explore, like they could take a risk, that they could try something different. We were all in our comfort zones. So you know what? I won the award, and I'm not sure it was a noble failure. It was a total failure. But since then, we've had noble failures every quarter. Now, the next concept and approach that I want to talk about is collaboration. And when we did our study with the School of Life, it was because we really deeply wanted to understand how to achieve great teamwork. And what we found was important was to design intentional collaboration. Now, I often get asked, what on earth do you mean by intentional collaboration? Well, what I mean is designing ways in which you can get to know the people you work with, the teams you work with, very proactively and very, very quickly. So one of the approaches that a number of teams in Dropbox use, and I use as well, is we have work with me documents. So these work with me documents, quite simple. I have my personality type, my communication preferences, the way that I like to work, the things that are pet peeves, the priorities and the goals that I have, and I share that document with everyone who works with me, and they share theirs with me. And what it means is I don't spend weeks or months trying to figure out how does that person want to digest information, how do I need to present to them. I know, because I just read their document. And it means we get to a place of understanding faster. It means it's easier to collaborate. It means we build that safe space much more quickly than we would otherwise have. The other component of designing intentional collaboration is designing not just when teams come together, but also when people are apart. So if you think about it, we're really good at designing brainstorms and offsites and coming together at conferences like this. But what we don't often do, or we neglect, is to take time to intentionally design the space for people as individuals to go away and process and reflect and come back with their thoughts and so on afterwards. So you need to have both elements and that balance in proper collaboration and really good, deep collaboration. You also need to think about virtual collaboration. And there's obviously a lot being talked about that here today. We need spaces and places and tools that are easy to use. And that is core to how we think about products at Dropbox. How can we make sure our products are taking away the work about work in the virtual collaboration space? And Dropbox Paper is a product that does exactly that. That's a product that allows virtual collaboration. It allows teams to work together at the same time. And it also strikes that balance with individuals being able to come back in and collaborate in their own time. We were at the Sundance Festival earlier this year, and we found that over 60% of filmmakers use Dropbox Paper to create their films. And if you think about a film and all the names at the end of a film, the credits, that's hundreds of people working across the globe, working across multiple disciplines, all collaborating, mainly virtually, to realize the vision of the film. That is true creative collaboration. And the final point on collaboration is around diversity. And we're all aware of the decades of research that show diverse teams make people smarter, make companies more innovative, they accelerate problem solving. And we all know that that's because diverse teams bring very different perspectives and ideas to the table. But not only that, diverse teams also bring more rigor to their decision making and their problem solving. And why is that? It's precisely because they know that they will need to debate and evaluate lots of different ideas and perspectives. So they come with an open mind and they're ready to debate that, so you really do get the best ideas. And at Dropbox, we really understand the value of building a workplace where everybody feels that they can be themselves. Because that's when you get real team and individual engagement. That's when people will share what they really think. That's when they'll share their perspectives and their ideas. Now, moving to empowering teams, which I also think is critical for creative thinking. There are two concepts that I want to touch on very briefly: grit and macro management. Now, grit, when I think about grit, I think of the stuff of resilience and tenacity and self-motivation. There is a great quote by a lady, a psychologist called Dr. Angela Lee Duckworth, and she describes grit as, hopefully I got this exactly right, sustaining your passions over a long period of time by working really hard at them over really disappointingly long periods of time. Now, sustained motivation and hard work, I kind of think, yep, we probably are all familiar with that. But what catches me in that quote is the over really disappointingly long periods of time. That really describes grit to me. It's not just about picking yourself up when you've failed at something and getting on with it. It's about continually digging in and digging in again. And particularly with teams, it's almost like recognizing that, I guess, failure is part of the process to achieving your ultimate goals. And it's no surprise that teams with more grit are more determined, more motivated, more empowered. So when you think about a grit culture, it's setting stretch goals. At Dropbox, we have a value called aim higher. And this is because we don't believe that people will be creative, that people will push themselves and think differently if they're in their comfort zone. We also, when I think about grit culture, I think about growth mindset. This idea of everything you do is a learning opportunity. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, fantastic. And having that as part of the process. And the third thing about a growth mindset is having and instilling nearly the vocabulary of grit. Talking about it with your teams, very open dialogues with the people you work with. Talk about the really disappointingly long period of time it took to put that product on the shelves or whatever it may be. And then brings me to what I call macro management. Now, I think if I asked for a show of hands, and I won't, I think we all carry battle scars of micromanagement. I think we all understand that concept pretty well. I have a global team across the world, and I couldn't micromanage them even if I tried. And I'm quite sure if you ask some people on my team, I probably have tried every now and again. But what I have come to value and practice is a concept called macro management. And macro management is very, very simple. It's about setting the vision or the North Star for where you want to go. It's about supporting the teams to collaborate effectively and perform effectively. And it's staying out of the how to get there. And when you stay out of the how, the teams then take ownership of the how. That's their problem to figure out. That's their piece of work, and a massive piece of work to figure out. So what you find is that teams then start to problem solve. They become creative thinkers themselves as they figure it out. They own it. And creative thinking becomes maximized across your team. So macro management, set the vision, support the production, but stay out of it. Don't manage it. And finally, the last approach, and I'm going to argue this is the most important approach, is making time for creative thinking. Now, at the start of this presentation, I talked about having no time to breathe. There's not a minute in the day. So how do we make time for creative thinking? We haven't time for anything else. Well, the answer is simple but difficult. And that really is about prioritize it. Put an hour a week in your calendar to stare out the window by yourself, with your team. Discipline that hour. Make it 2 hours after a month or two and build it up. At Dropbox, what we've done is we've dedicated a week every year called Hack Week to creative thinking. Now, many organizations run Hack Weeks, and they tend to be engineering focused, but at Dropbox, it's the entire company. And what we do during that week is we throw out our fear of failure. We develop a very healthy irreverence for the impossible. And we work with whomever we choose in Dropbox on whatever we want. Now, I will stress, we do aim for creative thinking 52 weeks a year, but what the purpose of Hack Week is to give us a practice ground to be bold and to be fearless. Practicing that ability to see beyond our limits. And it's been a catalyst for new products and new features and a variety of things, but you can work on anything. And the picture that I'm showing you here is a picture of a small boat in the shape of a Dropbox logo that was built to sail around San Francisco Bay. Now you might go, but why? And I can imagine a conversation that went something like this. One person says, hey, wouldn't it be cool to build a boat that'd sail around San Francisco Bay in the shape of a Dropbox logo? Someone else went, you wouldn't be able to do that. And so they decided to work on it during Hack Week as a project. And they did, and they sailed it around San Francisco Bay. Now, the point is not that we're going to get into boat building and that's a whole new line of business for us. No, the point is to get us out of our comfort zone. The point is to allow us to play in a safe space, to collaborate in a completely different way and be creative thinkers. So at Dropbox, our mission is to unleash the world's creative energy by designing a more enlightened way of working. And we passionately believe in a transformed work culture, one where individuals and businesses can really apply the best of their creative energy to the problems they're trying to solve. And if you think about all the world's big problems, that's going to require a lot of human ingenuity. I'll take a neutral one, climate change. No one team or one group of scientists or one organization or even a country is going to solve that. We need new enlightened ways of working, better collaboration, better teamwork, better problem solving, all of which adds up to the need for a culture of creative thinkers. Thank you.
Adrienne, thank you very much. What a fantastic place to work it sounds. So that boat, it floated around San Francisco.
Floated around San Francisco
It did.
Bay.
And
Yes.
how long did it last?
I think we sailed it for maybe 2 weeks. It took it in, took it out, and then that was it. We didn't see the boat again. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do.
Brilliant. And I love what you've been talking about, that give it a go, try fast, fail fast, etc. Can I just ask you just a very quick question just about attracting talent?
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about attracting and maintaining, really young talent. Just give us just a picture of the diverse workforce that you have.
Well, diverse on so many axes. So gender diversity. So we think about gender. We've programs, official programs on recruiting, attracting, and then retaining. So we think about it on gender. We have different diversity spectrums in North America. So for example, vets, we have black Dropboxers. We have what we call Pride Box, is our LGBT diversity lines. Obviously that's not one that is as open on the attraction piece, but it's a huge big part of what we do internally. In Europe, it's a lot around cultural diversity, so we have people from all nationalities based in we have a Dublin headquarters, a London office. So just very, very diverse workforce.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing the Dropbox story. Adrienne Gormley, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.